G'day, g'day, g'day. Welcome back to the Yucky OutBack, a showing death guard tactics from the plague-ridden side of the tabletop. I'm your host, the Sten Strategist, and today's video, we're going to be reviewing the RTT list that came second place that I piloted in my local tournament. We're going to go through how the Blight Lords are really relevant with the detachment of choice. We're going to also go through the ins and outs of how the game played out, key things you can take away while piloting this detachment and this list in particular, and why this list is such a good one for beginners trying to get into Death Guard. So let's get into the list. So here it is, here's the list. So today's attachment of choice, we're playing Virulent Vectorium. This attachment rule is quite simple. It allows you to gain sticky objectives at the end of your command phase if you already hold the objective while models are on there. The new wording for this is secured objectives for people trying to find it in 11th edition. Old heads know it as sticky objective. We're going to go through the key important units that I rely on, my force units that allow me to be able to, flip the game, be able to rely on them constantly. So we'll go through the first one, the one that you guys are familiar with, the Lord of Contagion. This big fella here is one of my favorite boys. As you can see, we're giving the enhancement Furnace of Plagues here on him. So it's going to allow him to have +1 attack, +1 strength, and have devastating wounds. This is quite impactful because into Custodes, they have a big invul save. And I was looking at kind of how games were playing out. Into Custodes were high up in the meta, and things before up invuls are quite important without Feel No Pain. So I thought putting a Devil Wounds ability onto this guy is really important. So there's that. He's leading a 3-man unit of Death Shroud as applicable. The next two units we're going to talk about is the big fella right here, our Defiler. Pretty important for this one. Here's our shooty clapback and also our objective holder as well at some stages of the game. He's got a big base of 12-inch movement. Spreading contagion is quite good for him too because he's such a large base. We're bringing him with the Hades Battle Cannon and the Heavy Order Reaper Cannons. Now, Death Guard players, I will say this with full honesty to you guys. If you do not take the Heavy Order Cannons, you're missing out on a massive opportunity. I'll show you why in the video upcoming on turn 3, I believe it was. This thing just had so much time to shine. So yeah, the Defiler is another unit of choice here. Next brick, our Blight Lord Terminators. Now in VV, you have a stratagem that allows you to do full hit and wound rerolls into inventory that are selecting a Contagion unit. These guys are able to one-shot a knight on a good day. Their volume of shooting is quite good. They get +1 strength, +1 AP when their model count is exceeding 5 starting strength, and they're also shooting an afflicted unit. Pair this up with a Chaos Predator Destructor, you're getting +1 AP into infantry, so you're just wiping out infantry regardless, and they have no answer to it. Forcing invols and things like that. So quite good for the Blight Lords. The next thing that we've got is we're running 2 War Dog Brigands, which are quite important for this. This is going to be our heavy shooty clapback, where they can come down from reserves outside of 8 inches and get melter range and put lots of shots at range. So there's our key units. In terms of objective holders, we've got Plague Marines, a couple Chaos want to go to secondary action, things like that. And then from there on, the Chaos Rhino with the Malignant Plague Casters is our Plague Bust strat for getting rid of infantry quite efficiently. So there's the list. But let's get into round 1 and deployment and show you guys why this list absolutely shredded in this RTT. Okay, so before I start talking about deployment on a reasonable scale, or why I did what I did, the mission was our opponent was using Unstoppable Force and I was a movable object. The idea of this is the main primary scoring doesn't revolve around our home, so we didn't really want to play into our home objective that much. So for the most part, we both took tactical, and I won roll-off, so I want him to go first. So he deployed his first unit, which was the Witch Seekers on his home objective, which I thought was quite interesting. He doesn't want to give me too much information as he's running low units. So in response, Tallyman went down for me. Now, when I was looking at the board state, I can see for us, we want to hold outside. So what's the best way to attack this? So I thought that when I was placing my Defiler here in the corner, it's going to give me the best cover for the Defiler as our clapback shooter. And then it's also going to be able to hold this where he's going to have to bring his units towards me, which is what I want. I want him to get to Contagion. I want to close that distance. So my key clapback unit was there. I have the Blight Lord situated in the center. The reason why is because they're going to anchor our middle. Obviously, these guys don't have to move very far to get onto the center due to the fact that I've deployed them so close. So that was kind of an obvious play where most people should expect Blight Lords to go. So try to put them as close to the center objective as they're going to be anchor units, and the anchor units are going to try to hold the middle throughout the game when they're when they finally get on there. Poxwall goes down left to hold my home, so then he doesn't get to free move on and claim an objective. A Chaos Spawn at the front to be able to go to actions in case I have to do something ridiculous like, cleanse objectives, we'll have to do 2 different ones where I can have this unit go here and here. Here, obviously, put his card assassin in the center. Standard, he wants to use his the Vector Aura to make CP strats worse because -1 damage already cost me 2, so it's going to be quite annoying to deal with 3. Apart from that, there's the deployments there. On my opponent's side, he put the Land Raider in response to my Defiler to try and shoot it out. A vulnerable Contempted Dreadnought there as well to try to push the center. He also has his Custodian Guard, his Vettus Predators there, and then the Sisters there. In reserves for both of us, we'll talk about that really quickly. So for me, I really wanted to put the pressure on him mostly. So he's got a Shield Captain with a Custodian Guard. He's got his Elos Custodes with a Blade Champ, and then he's got the Custodian Wardens all in reserves. For me, I put 2 of my War Dog Brigands to deal with that Land Raider in coming turns. We've got the Chaos Rhino sitting in reserves to go kill infantry when possible, so there's a threat. And the Destructor for the +1 AP and infantry was in reserves too, because I don't want it to have to be dictated to where it can and can't go. They're both elite playcasters in the Rhino. So there's deployment. Now let's go over the first turn and go through step by step of how I play this detachment to the best, allowing us to get a pretty good victory here. Okay, so here is our first turn for the game. So, shout out to Joel. He was my opponent playing Custodes today. He had first turn, so he brought the vulnerable Dreadnought down into the center there, which was quite... I think he was trying to protect the expansion from each target with the Poxwalkers to auto-see it. He brought the Custodes down, bikes down, and kept the Sisters on the point. In response to him doing that, his secondaries that he pulled were, let me pull them up really quickly to follow suit, Assassination and Plunder. So for him, he was able to grab Assassination, I think later on. He didn't grab it now, but he tried it. He had Plunder as well, so a bit of a later game action. So first turn, he didn't do too much. He had to kill an enemy unit. I didn't offer him any because he went first, so he didn't bother scoring that. And that was his turn. He just moved a couple of units out and started to do things. For me, on the other hand, I had to control the center objective. At this point, I controlled one of them, so I was able to grab 3 points off the start. Towards the end of the game, obviously in the end of the command phase or end of turn. For my secondaries, I pulled center ground and bring it down. This is quite interesting. So I haven't removed models yet because I'm going to show you what happened. So I was able to step the Defiler over to be within 30 inches of the VCD. I picked -1 save contagion here. The Poxwalkers made the T9 drop to T8, so all of my weapons were winning on 3s. And then the VC was, in a bit of a rough spot. So all Defiler shooting went into the VCD, got max rolls on the Hades Battle Cannon, and was able to get 2 dev wounds with 2 sustained lethals going into the VCD. He did save a couple rolls. On the Strength 10, I was able to get AP2 into it, so it was on its 4-up invul. Out of all of those shots, I was able to take down the VCD, and it did not blow up. So that was bring it down for me right there for me personally. Over here, the bikes, I couldn't stop too much about that. I kept the Chaos Spawn off because I wanted to spread contagion later on, so I thought I'd sacrifice 65 points instead of 80. And that is the very first turn. So I was able to grab a decent amount of points there. We're able to grab center ground and bring it down all in the same turn. So we ended up scoring 13 primary compared to his 0, which was quite interesting. So simple as that. Into round 2, guys. So here is round 2. Now, round 2 was quite interesting as I went quite aggressive. So what happened is on round 2, we had his Custodes move up into the center, his Land Raider position to get some shots on the Defiler in response back, and then his Predators on the bikes were able to make a charge and shoot into the Defiler. Now, the Defiler did lose half wounds from all the shooting from those guys and the las cannons, which is quite fine. We do have Leech Spore Eruption here for 1 CP in the command phase to roll D6 for each wound, which was quite impactful, so we did end up using that to gain some wounds back. And we also made a Heroic Intervene with the Death Shroud. Now, what happened here was the Death Shroud and the... he ended up picking up the Plague Marine Brick with his attacks, because he ended up trying to attack them to try to move them off the objective, which this already didn't have sticky as is yet. But here the Blightlords were able to pick up all these guys and the Defiler also, which is quite impactful for us. We also were able to pick up the Chaos Assassin with AP2 Chaos Swarm, which was quite nice. Now, onto my turn. So from here, we ended up shooting back with the Defiler. We ended up rolling the Blightlord Terminators up onto this objective here, just to sit back and hang out, because they haven't shot yet, so they still have the hidden mechanic in play where they need be. We also still wanted to have an Overwatch threat for whatever reason, which is why the Defiler is here. If he ends up positioning here, we can go for a Heroic Intervene if he goes for a charge. Obviously, it has to be outside of 8 inches, so he's looking to position here, which the Defiler has quite easy access into anyway. So for the most part here, what I did was I put the 2 War Dog Brigands to go take out the Land Raider, then the Predator to shoot the las cannons into it and have oncoming fire into these boys over here, because we have one that is not touching. So through here we had a line of sight sitting roughly about here. So sorry, I ended up moving this up a bit further because we pre-measured this to make sure I had line of sight. Obviously they do have no cover. Sorry, they did have cover from this perspective, so we ended up factoring that, so shooting on 4s. So into this, with the shooting with the Predator, I was able to take out 2 of these guys with the Predator autocannon, giving +1 AP into that. The Brigands ended putting both melters into Land Raider, one with having cover into effect, the other one didn't. With full 1 rerolls, we were able to take out the Land Raider, which was quite nice. We ended up putting the Chaos Rhino down, and we also did make what we call a tactical disembark. So if a unit that's a transport ends up moving outside or arriving on the battlefield, you can still disembark. It is called a tactical disembark. How that works is that you end up disembarking, but you must roll hazardous rolls for the units disembarking. So from here, I was able to flame out all of these cutie patooties because the Rhino plus 2 million playcasters shot it. So now he's only left with 3 units left on the board at the end of my turn 2. We haven't even shot with the Blight Lords yet, but all this efficient shooting was going really well for me. Even with invols and things taking in place, the WDBs with no contagion for that fact at the moment was able to get the Land Raider down quite well. A lot of luck involved with that too. But with the Defiler shooting into it as well, there was a lot of heavy shots going into it, so I wasn't surprised it popped. They ended up having to disembark these guys. No, sorry, this is how it played out. He ended up disembarking. The two guys got lucky. The las cannons from the Predator Destructor were able to shoot that up. These guys hopped out. Then this Defiler went off. Shooting into this with no cover here, because you can see the full model where he was positioned. He ended up disembarking it like touching right here, I think it was, which gave me full visibility where he might be positioned to feel a little bit more over. I had like almost full line of sight somehow through the game. We ended up popping off and killing this whole brick because they were in contagion of the Chaos Spawn, giving us AP2 into all the weapons, and then with full hit and wound, with full attack number rerolls for 1 CP, unit was picked up. So he's left with 3 units at the end of turn 2. Now, the reason why the shooting went so well as it did is because of positioning on the enemy's behalf. This list was really good at being versatile and toolboxy and forcing options in round 2. So round 3, he ended up doing a bit of a clapback here, being able to take out a couple things. So let's go into round 3 and talk about how this worked out. And here's my opponent's round 3. So round 3 for him was quite interesting. He ended up putting the Blade Champion outside of my Defiler. I didn't choose to Overwatch because I was pretty content that it was going to die, and there's a clapback set right there, so might as well save the CP. Here, on the other hand, the Custodian Guard are just chilling here. He's rapid them down in front of the Chaos Spawn, which they definitely were outside 8, so sorry, a bit further back. Position probably back there more relevantly. There we go. The Death Shroud came down outside of 13 to hold primary. I like to use Rapid Ingress in multiple ways: to stage a unit or to score primary if they've got thinned out units. So I'm going to be able to hold 1 central, 1 home, and 1 right side objective in the home for him. And then he didn't really want to challenge too much because on his turn, he was able to grab... that's right, he was able to shoot off the Chaos Spawn here because he was definitely within 15. So I lost those 2 units. So to 1 unit. And then at the end of his command phase, he was able to hold 2 separate ones. He was able to hold this one and then this one as well. He was more like that. Because he rapid them in on my turn. I didn't end up shooting. Sorry, so he didn't come in this turn, I came in last turn. The best part is that when he moved them up, so it was more like this. He rolled 2 snake guys, and he didn't have enough CP because he rapided last turn, and he used a CP strat as well to buff something in this turn. So he was quite out of pocket, unfortunately. So for round 3, it was quite interesting because on my turn, this is where Death Guard just cleaned up. So for scoring for me, we hold 3 objectives, which was quite nice, controlling the center at the end, which gave us a juicy amount of primary. We ended up doing the plunder action with our Death Shroud Terminators over here because they're so far up on the board. And then secure No Man's Land was quite easy here. We were able to just keep this. We ended up moving these guys on here, moving them there, big fella 9 there. And then these guys couldn't see, obviously, but they're just holding down the side. And then, obviously, secure's happening over here as well. And then Plunder was happening there too. Defense Stronghold was in play until next turn, but it was quite easy from here. The Defiler was able to shoot, kill this brick because lethality. And then the Blight Lords ended up walking on up here, moving in their 5. They were able to get guys like this. So I had one missing out. And then we're able to get Contagion at 9 inches, contaging all this, completely getting rid of this whole unit with full hit and wound rerolls. That's how efficient Blight Lord Terminators are. The 3 here, I was willing to put shots into, but ended up saving all of them, so I wasn't able to do anything there. But that was round 3. You can kind of see a theme here. My opponent was trying really hard to be able to force me with oppositions, but knowing that it's VV, I had a lot of answers with a lot of stratagems and a lot of unit positioning. Rolls were factoring as well. I was rolling extremely hot on this game as well, making, you know, not as great saves, but he wasn't rolling hot in damage and he wasn't rolling hot on his saves, so that can kind of reflect how the game went. And then into round 4. And here's round 4. So my opponent ended up using the Custodes to move on to the center, and that was pretty much it for the overall side of his turn. He couldn't really do too much because he's so units dependent. He was completely lost. For me, I was able to take advantage of this, scoring max primary in my turn, and then able to get the Blight Lord Terminus to move on to the center objective, charge, shoot as well, and kill the full Custode brick. So now he was officially tabled. Towards the end of the game, it was quite interesting because our secondaries were all actions beyond this point with cleanse and things like that, and engage in all fronts. So here, going into round 5, these units stayed the exact same way where they were, which was quite surprising, and able to score max primary and get max secondary on the 2 turns. So the overall score at the end of the game was 100 points my way, so a clean victory, to 63 points to Joel's way. He was able to get a couple points on primary and secondaries, which allowed him to get so high up. But towards the end of the game, Deathshroud really were able to pull their weight and really come out of that rut. So let's go to the verdict, kind of tips and advice to run this list, VV piloting it, and what it looks like going into those high matchups with those invul saves. So let's talk about the overall detachment, the key units that we were using, and the most crucial points of the game. So for the most crucial part about it, VV is still very competitive. It isn't as good as what it was in the 10th. It's not as strong because it forces you into some matchups to have to hold 3 in the center, bringing you out of comfortability, really relying on your resilience, which can be very easily changed. I've had a lot of games with this detachment where the -1 damage was good, but it wasn't enough when my opponents were just able to put volume shooting into me, therefore my invul saves were going to roll out of time. But do I think it's competitive? Absolutely. Still one of our most competitive detachments. The 3 DP is totally justified. If we added up a 1 DP to this detachment, it'd be very strong. The most part is the strategy you're going to rely on for this one are going to be Creeping Blight. That one is the full hit and wound rerolls with shooting an afflicted unit. That destroys with the Blight Lord Terminators. The Death Shroud are another good one. Just the presence of being able to come in with inside of 6 to a contagious unit is still really helpful. Even though we made them only do a plunder action, they didn't have much time to shine because all of my shooter units for this game for some reason were popping off really well. Courtesy to Joel, his saves weren't really great either. You won't get this type of quick review in most games, unfortunately, due to the fact that Joel rolled a little bit below average. The game was decided a lot quicker than usual. The key rolls that really were good were the Defiler's shooting was popping off like no other. I've had countless games with this loadout with the Heavy Reaper autocannons has proved so worth to me. In another game of Custodes, I was able to overwatch and be able to kill a fully healthy Custode brick with just the autocannons and the Hades Battle Cannon alone. It doesn't happen often, but it definitely can with the Devil Wind spiking and the Sustained Lethal spiking as well. Very important. And the most part that really blew me away with this detachment was the fact that it plays differently too. With 10th edition, we're so used to if you don't have your objective at your home, you've lost the game. Now that doesn't matter as much. You still need to hold it sometimes in some occasions, depending on the primary ruling, and if your opponent can score it really big at the end of the game for holding your home, depending on the words. But for the most part, holding your home doesn't matter too much. So for this one, advice for the list and how you're piling it. If you don't have all of these units, what could you change? If you want to change the Blight Lord Terminators to a 6-man Death Shroud brick to have more lethality in melee, that could be a move. I do highly recommend the Blight Lords though. They're very slept upon in terms of some list buildings. VV is almost an auto-include to bring them, in my personal opinion, with the full hit and wound rerolls. They become so much better. You could change the Predator Destructor, for example. You could bring a Mythic Blight Hauler and have 45 points reserved, or a heavy bloat, or bring a heavy bloat drone, drop the Brigand, have another heavy bloat drone. I prefer the Brigands because they're very good at dealing with that heavy toughness 12 to T11 up. So I personally like them with the full hit, for the full wound rerolls that they have into monsters and vehicles. That's something really worth to talk about too. The Plague Bust speaks for itself. It just wipes infantry. You don't have to worry about it. It just hops out, does its thing, bang. And it's not a one-time use too. Sometimes opponents underestimate it. You just put them straight back in, send it into another infantry unit dead, and they're like, oh, I really should have killed it. Well, it's hard to say. I really like the Plague Bust, so it's not for everybody. So give it a go, see if you like it. The idea of it's there on display. Check out the streams that are coming in the future against really high-level skilled players. I'll be using the combat, and you'll be able to see it full display there. So keep out for those. Make sure you subscribe and keep the bells on so you can see when I'm going to live stream. Make sure in the Discord as well. I'm going to post all the schedules for the streams when we're about to have them about a week prior to a couple of days prior. So it gives you plenty of time to get yourself reserved, get your popcorn, get ready to watch me kick some ass. Apart from that, the detachment really speaks for itself. The game was quite quick and short due to the fact that I was able to play in my element. I've got a lot of experience with VV, so going into it's pretty straightforward. Just going to kill stuff, hold objectives. Happy days. Apart from that, really, I guess it comes down to the detachment. I rate the detachment still, the same as last edition, a 9. I feel like it's really missing some key units to make it better. That's the feeling of 10th edition. I feel like there's a missing piece in 11th edition, sorry, not 10th, 11th edition, where if we had that missing piece, VV would be that much better. Some people run Mortarion, some people don't. I like to run Mortarion and other detachments, not really this one, because you don't really need that center anchor, as the Blight Lords will do it for you. And the -1 damage makes them a lot stronger and tougher too, same as the Death Shroud. But apart from that, guys, there's your review. Sorry it's a bit of a shorter one. This game was over a lot quicker as VV is still quite strong, and because, obvious factors, Jolly couldn't roll his dice as well as he wanted to, and I was rolling extremely hot. But that brings us to the end of the video, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe, turn the bells on so you hear all of my new videos coming out. We've got the other schedule now of the other detachment review going to Shamble Rot. Shamble Rot's going to be a bit of a longer video because it requires a little bit more, so stick around for that. Make sure that you're going to be available for that one. It's a really funny game. Anything else? Make sure you're in the Discord as well. The Discord has been popping off recently with all of you guys in there. The support's been absolutely immaculate. And thanks to all you guys, we are absolutely growing faster than ever. So massive props to you guys. As a final thing, make sure you go check out W and use code Yucky OutBack for any caffeinated drinks that you guys want. It supports the channel, so if you want to support a bit further, go hit them up. Don't have to, but the option's there. We're also going to be starting up a Patreon soon as well. If you guys want to support the channel further and make me able to get cool features for the channel, do this for, get that one step closer to doing this as less of a hobby and more of a primary job role, and things like that. But apart from that, guys, this is the Stench Stratus signing out. Stay yucky, guys. Catch you the next one. See ya.